Okay. Oh, I will share my screen with you.
Okay.
Okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Just let me. Okay, let's hide this. Oh, wait. But I want to show my face. Uh, oh, just leave it like this. Okay. Yesterday, well, yesterday, no, a few days ago, we reviewed the finance option, then the
Mm-hmm.
sales role. I think that now is a good idea to do the same with supply chain management. You know,
Okay.
so what's the main idea of supply chain management?
Mm.
Uh, Supply chain management mainly actually it defines the policies, no, that are going to be used either for fulfilling the demand and actually for satisfying the supply needs, no. So actually, so supply chain management define the rules that control the whole system, no. So
Mm-hmm.
this
Okay.
is crucial. The idea is that the strategy is reflected in the sales role. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
and also then supply chain need to support the strategy of sales, no? So that's
Mm-hmm.
the main idea.
Yeah.
Uh, for example, no, if you are like if you are attaining a high level of service level, no, you need to reflect that in the policies. Let's begin with the product policy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I don't know why, but it may look like my sound is coupling. Do you think that you can mute your video and then just open the mic again if you want to speak?
Okay.
Great. Okay. Yeah, right now it's much better. Great. Okay, so do you have two options here for defining the policies of a product in this game? No, the first one is the production interval. The production interval is the frequency that that you use to produce your products. For example, in this case, if it's set it in 5, no, it means that it's going to produce this product every 5 days, which inside the logic of the game is equivalent to once a week. No, if you choose, for example, 10 days, no, it's going to be produced twice, once every 2 weeks. No, so that's the logic. So what's the idea with production interval? No, if you choose like a lower frequency, for example, 5, 3, no, it means that, okay, the obvious thing is that you're going to produce more frequently, but they have two effects, two main effects. The first one is that you're going to have to make more changeover processes in your boarding line, which actually generates more scrap because each time you made a changeover, you generate scrap some waste, but also consumes capacity of your boarding line. So the more lower is this frequency, the more capacity you drain from your boarding line, and also the more quantity of waste you generate. So that's a thing. And the other thing is that there is a connection, no? Because you also choose a lower frequency, it means that you're going to require to have like lower batches in the mixer, no? And this may cause like an inefficient operation in the mixer. But this is like a third effect, but it is not that critical, okay? It may critical if actually you set this production interval very low to a point that the mixer is a constraint. For example, if you choose, let's say for this product, no, that is a low moving product, no, production frequency interval of 2 days, maybe the batch size for mixing for those 2 days would be like, I don't know, 2,000 liters per changeover. But actually, the minimum capacity of one of the mixers is 8,000. So what it means that your policy is going to be impossible to be accomplished. So in this case, what is going to happen is actually you're going to produce at 8,000 per liters per batch. So the operation is not going to follow your policy. So you need to account that, no? You need to check if your policy is going to be able to be applied in the supply chain. And this is a common issue, no? Because remember, a policy is just a expression of a desire, no? Or something that you want. So, but it's not reality. Actually, reality is what actually happens in operations, no? So you need to manage operations in order to be able to fulfill what supply chain wants for policies, no? At this point, you have any doubt?
No, that sounds good. Yeah, it's so important to have, integration and have everybody on the same page with, policy that works, not in isolation. I mean, you have to consider it how it impacts everybody, right?
Exactly, yeah. So far, I have explained to you the impact of production interval over operations, but there is a positive impact, no? If you produce in lower batches, no, it means that your time to respond to the market needs is lower. For example, if you define a production interval of 10 days, no, and right now today you just finished your batch and you just run out of stock, you're going to be able to respond 10 days from now. So you're going to be uncovered of stock for 10 days. But if you define a shorter length of production interval, for example, 5 days, if you run out of stock today and you produce it today, no, it means that you're going to be able to respond 5 days later. So this is the logic. If you set a lower number production interval, you're going to be able to respond better to market needs, which means higher service levels. No, so everything in supply chain or most things in supply chain are part of a trade-off. No, so this is one of the crucial ones. No, the production interval trade-off. If you reduce it, you improve service level, but if you reduce it, you increase the utilization of your boarding line, and as well your mixing line, and you increase the quantity of scrap produced during changeover. So you need to actually manage this.
There's trade-offs, huh? There's trade-offs.
Yes, that's why the game is very hard, because there is not a correct answer that works every time, because it depends on the sensitivity of the game. No, so you need to find out which position is better. No, and it's not linear. This means that if you change other things, for example, the safety stocks or other policies in the game, other decisions, that optimal position move. So actually, it is very hard. Each time you make a change in your chain, you need to again to try to balance all the decisions in order to have an optimal behavior. No, okay. The other factor is safety stock. Okay, so safety stock. Okay, there was a fourth effect for production interval, but I'm going to leave it for this next explanation. Safety stock is just the stock you define, no, in order to manage both the uncertainties of demand and the certainties of supply. What it means? You have in the demand side a normal variability, you know. And actually this generates you the need to having safety stock. But also you have problems with operations. Operations is not always 100% accurate. I don't know if you recall, no? Let's just me open a new window. Here in operations, if you open the mixing and boarding role, you have an indicator here, production plan adherence. No, this means that this is like the reliability of the boarding line. So this boarding line is reliable 85% in overall. No, so this means that the safety stock you define, it needs to cover for both demand variability and supply variability. No, so you need to have that in mind. So if you reduce safety stock, it's going to reduce the service level. So then that's an obvious thing, and it's direct. Less safety stock, less service level. So well, actually, it is not desirable as sometimes, no. But also, if you increase safety stocks in order to improve your service level, you increase the obsoletes, and also the cost of holding inventories.
Gustavo,
Yes.
this might be too much to ask, but when you're looking at, the system and how, this relates to the system and where the safety stock, the buffers need to be at critical points of throughout the supply chain, but you look at where the safety stocks will really have a critical benefit. How do you map that out or think about that? Do you kind of think about that? Do you sketch that out kind of, or think about that of where you're going to put the safety stocks? How do you come to that decision?
Okay. Yeah, I'm about to read that point. Actually, it is quite hard. It is not that easy. So, but it can be easy, but no optimal, no? So just let me finish. So you have another trade-off, very important here. The highest, the safety stock, the higher the obsoletes and the holding cost, no? So, and the lowest is the safety stock, the lowest it gets the service level. So you need to balance that, no? And I was speaking also with production interval. Let me rephrase that. There was a fourth impact, no? And maybe a fifth. The fourth impact is that if you reduce as well the production interval, you're going to have like a less average inventory, which means less obsoletes. So actually, when you reduce production interval, you reduce but just a little bit of obsoletes, no? But the more strong thing to reduce obsoletes, actually there are two options. The first one is safety stock, and the other one, I don't know if you recall, I think that we spoke about this in our last session, is on sales. Can you recall which one was it in order to reduce obsoletes?
Oh, let's see here.
That's a hard one, huh? It is not that easy.
Let's see here. What we did to, yeah, we talked about shelf life, important shelf
Great,
life.
you got it right. So that's the idea. If you have like a very high promise shelf life, the pressure over your supply chain is going to be higher. So that means that your odds of obtaining a low level of obsolete with a high promise of shelf life are very low. No, it's very unlikely to happen. So you have, right? I think that right now you can see. Sorry, you can see that this game is fully interconnected. No, every decision is interconnected with the other one. So there is not actually a silo way to win the game. That's why you
that
need
makes
a lot
it pretty realistic, right? You would say that's pretty realistic in life. That's one of the main lessons, right? That's one of the main lessons, how we need to break out the silos and need to have integrated supply chains.
Yes, that's a
for decision making and the trade-offs, the reality of the conflicts, the trade-offs, and it really brings to an understanding how there needs to be that information flow, right? Upstream, downstream, cross, integrated.
You're totally right, no? So actually, the first game I played the game, I didn't read the info center at all. I just started making my decisions as I did back in reality in the companies I used to work. So this game, it is actually very well designed because it mimics the dynamics that occurs in real life. So this is the beautiful thing about this game, no? Okay, but let's cut the promotion of this game and let's move back again to your previous question. How to define a safety stock? This is a hard one, no? Okay, a first approach is to do like trial and correct, for example, no? Okay, if you go to this report, no? And you check this, no? This is the service levels per order line, no? So right now, the policy you have defined it, no? So not only the policy, the combination of inventory policies for this product plus the performance of the supply chain, which means the performance of the bottling line, the mixing process, and the supply of components, it generates this result, no? 94.7. So this is the question. If you want to increase this service level, no, you have two options in this point. You may need to increase a little bit the safety stock. For example, in this case, from 2.1, maybe I need to increase it to 2.5. But this is just like like guessing in there, no? It is not like exact calculation, no? But another way to do it is, instead of increasing safety stock, is reducing the interval of production. If I reduce the production, interval of production, I will increase the service level. But the good thing is that I will not only increase the service level, I will as well decrease the obsolete generated. You know, when you move safety stocks in order to increase service level, okay, you increase service level, but you as well increase obsoletes. So actually, this is like a close position, no? Because you want to improve here, for example, the service level, but you already have higher values of obsoletes. So if you increase the safety stock, this is going to be get better, but this is going to be get worse. So maybe an option is to reduce the interval, no? Maybe from 5 to 4 weeks, I don't know. So, but this is a first approach, just like a trial and error. Okay, this is the idea. Trial and error, no? And start like from maybe in the second or the third round, you're going to be able to have like optimized policies, no? But under one assumption, that the supply chain is behaving well, or at least as good as it did in the previous round. So another thing you can do in order to improve the service level is actually increase the responsiveness of your chain. So how can you check this? In this case, your goal is going to the operations and check again the production adherence plan adherence indicator, and try to increase this from 84.6 to 90, for example. So how to do that is to have more unused capacity, which means actually to increase a shift, which is very costlier, or try to reduce runtime, changeover time, or breakdown. And you have several options to do that. We want to get there when we review the production run, no? But the main thing is that you have like so many options to decide, and the crucial thing is to decide which is the best. Because if you have plenty of if you have like a lot of free capacity, for example, like this case, you only have like 60% of runtime, and if you assume we change over and breakdown is 70%, something like that. It's not that much, no? So you have plenty of unused capacity. So maybe an option for you in this point is to reduce the frequency of the production interval, because you have plenty of capacity free. So you don't need to invest in an extra shift, because you are right now have extra capacity. But if you are in a position where you don't have extra capacity, reducing that is not an option. Not only reducing it, maybe you will need as well to improve your operations by the implementation of initiatives such as SMED, source training, or preventive maintenance, and other ones that later the game we will be able to choose, no? So this is an approach to define the safety stock. The other approach is to model the thing. You know, this is actually a model, no? I can't recall the name correct. This is you have two basic theories for replenishment systems, no? One is that continuous review, that it supposes that you're reviewing your inventory position all the time, no? And actually, right now, it can be done because of ERPs, no? And the other option, that actually is the one that is used for this game, for the products, no? Is to review it periodically, once in a while, no? So the effect of having a production interval equals the effect of having an interval of revision, no? So in this case, you have to use that model, the model of replenishment for fixed periods, no? So if you look in the internet, in the literature, on books, there are models for doing that, no? It comprehends a little bit of use of statistics, no? But it is not actually that hard, no? So, but the thing is that the basic theory, it does not give you it gives you a good estimation of the magnitude of the change and the direction of the change, but it doesn't give you a precise estimate, no? So it is better than just guessing, but it's not still correct. So that third approach or final approach will be like, okay, create like a specific model for this phenomenon, which can be done. Actually, what is the thing that I have done in the spreadsheet that I have shared with you, no? So I think that you can use these three approaches: try and error, try to run calculations with basic theory, which helps you because gives you the direction and magnitude of change, and run your own model. What do you think so far?
Oh, I think that's good. I think data's important, right? You don't want to just go with your gut.
Yes.
But I think sometimes you have to run the model, but also I think, like you're saying, sometimes you just have to try different things, and just kind of you see where you might want to explore or kind of test a hypothesis, right? So yeah, I like how you're giving yourself a model and other things to kind of help provide a solution or see what the outcomes are as you're making a decision, and then also give yourself the opportunity to kind of test things out. So good.
Yes, you're right. And this happens in real life. If you're planning in a company, each time you define the inventory positions, you don't necessarily run math. You just learn from the errors you had, no? But this is also like a dangerous thing because each time you have a problem, immediately your reaction is going to be, okay, I need to increase safety stock. So you actually increase the safety stock. But then time goes by, another problem, another increase in safety stock. So it is good to use trial and error in companies. Actually, it is enough. But every 6 months or once a year, you need to run calculations in order to check if you are close to that theoretical optima. So for example, if you just were using your model and it's working well, nothing is running, inventories are always there, and you have, like, for example, 5 weeks of safety stock, and then you run a model and you realize that the optimal position is like 3 weeks. Okay, maybe it's a time to reset and move your position from 5 to 3 to 3.5 and just go again. So try and error fits a little bit of reality into your model, but also generates bias. So the idea is every year or every 6 months, review again your policies, theoretical, and check if you are close to it. And actually assess why you're not close or why you're close and how it's working. So that's the thing in real life.
Okay. Do you also find also that there's also room for qualitative, because you got quantitative, you got your data, you got your spreadsheets and all those things, but in those meetings, you're probably not there by yourself, just talking alone. You have, you're open to other people's ideas and thoughts, and then you kind of get those ideas kind of as themes or patterns or things that, hey, this is kind of a gathering way of looking at what needs to potentially be focused on, because it seems to be reoccurring or something like that, you know?
You have touched a critical thing. You're very right. Because when you work with the statistics, you work with past data. So you are not trying to make a forecast or run a model from the things that just passed, no? But the thing with talking with another people in the company, that the guys that are on sales or marketing, etc., they will provide you new insights, no, on how the market are changing. So actually, those insights. So that's a very good thing that you need to do during these S&OP meetings or integrating business planning meetings. I don't know what's the name right now. I used to use SOP, but
Like
that's
sales and operations or whatnot, you know? And I think that's critical. Yeah, what you're saying there is innovation, right? You open yourself to new ideas, innovation, you know? And so instead of group think, you know, you're you know, finding ways to share knowledge and also create new innovative ways of thinking or new patterns or new models, right? New models.
That's true. Okay, let's move to this tab. This is the tab where supply chains define the frozen period of production. This is tricky to get. Actually, it is tricky to model. I have not been able to use this indicator into my modeling system. I just choose it at what point. I'm not sure if this is optimal or no. I need to spend more time maybe into incorporating this. But this is the main idea behind this number, no? I don't know if you're familiar with this technique, with this idea, no, of water, snow, and ice, no, in planning.
Yeah,
So there are three.
frozen, slushy, and liquid zone you're talking about?
Yes, you're right. So yes, so the idea is when it's liquid, no, just running water. During that period, you can change anything, no.
Sure.
And maybe during the snow period, no, okay, maybe you cannot change what to produce, but you can change the quantities to produce. But in the frozen period, during this ice time, no, you cannot change anything in your plan. So this is what it means.
The liquid and slushy, if you will, or and frozen zones, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So for example, if you define 2 weeks, in this case for this machine, no, it means that from today until 2 weeks, you cannot change anything in production. It is fixed. So the work can be on fire, and you will not change your production plan. This is what it means.
So we're talking like 3 zones then, right? So you're talking about that's the fixed zone. That's the exactly. Frozen zone. That's a frozen zone, and then in between the liquid and the frozen is a slushy zone.
Exactly, but I don't see that in this game we don't have that in between zone, no. But this is important because if you reduce this, for example, 1 week, which is I think is the minimum, this means that you're going to respond better to demand, which is great if you want to accomplish higher service level. But the thing is that you reduce this frequency, it generates variability in your supply, in your production, in your mixing, and in your purchasing. So this means that your inventories of components are going to be more variable, no? And that you will need more like universal capacity as a backup, as a gap, in order to be able to support high levels of service level. So this is another trade-off, okay? So as I told you before, I have not found yet a rule to calculate this, incorporate this into my planning system. I tried several times, but this number didn't give me much insights compared with safety stocks and production interval. So that's why I just choose a position that it makes sense with my strategy and just leave it like that all the game. No.
Okay, so what would you summarize this? What would you just summarize this dilemma as, or this challenge that we're talking about, the decision that
Yes.
we're...
So the dilemma here is, okay, if you want to be, you're in a strategy of responsiveness, try to make this number lower, maybe close to one or two. If you want to have a efficient chain and prioritize efficiency over service level, you need to have a higher number, maybe three
Oh,
or four.
yeah, I see. So the lower the frozen zone, the more you're enabling things to happen before before it becomes frozen. So you're able to assemble or have just in time or be responsive
Yes,
and
that's
stuff.
beautiful. That's the idea.
Agile.
Great. So the final tab on supply chain is quite similar than the one of products, but you have it here with components, no? I think that we already reviewed a part of this, no? But this is the same logic, no? Here, the safety stock, it helps you to address the uncertainty of supply, no? And also the uncertainty of internal processes, no? Okay, this doesn't happen that much in this game. It happens with obsoletes, no? But maybe that during production you commit like a fatal flow and scrap like 50% of the inventory, and actually that generates a lot of variation in your supply because you will need to replenish that amount, those amounts. So the idea with safety stock is to cover about components is to cover supply variations and also internal process problems, no? So those are the two things you need to cover for defining the safety stocks. But there are two main insights to define a good position. The first one, I think that we already talked about this in our previous video. It is the lead time. So what's the logic? The highest a lead time it is, the highest a safety stock is going to be. Another one is the volume of the component. If you're purchasing a high volume product, no, this means that the variability of the demand that you're purchasing, no, is going to be tends to be lower. And on the other hand, if you have a low volume product or component in this case, the variability of these components tends to be higher. So, and if variability is higher, it means higher safety stocks. So you need to take into account that. And a good thing is to define the safety stock is to make comparisons. Actually check how the product have behaved in the past round and trying to imitate those decisions. No? For example, you go to this supply chain management report, you check the component availability, and you can see that both PAT and PEC work actually very well. Maybe too much well because about 100%, maybe this has like some inefficiencies hidden behind this number, are hidden behind this number. But you can mimic the safety stock of these products, but considering their volumes, no? So this is a starting point. Another approach, another thing that is important as well, but I will say that it is not that important as lead time and the variation of the demand of the component. It is the reliability of the supplier. Unless you choose a terrible supplier, which are in the game, you will be fine because they have like similar performances. No, you can optimize those, yes, but as far for component availability is about, there is not much influence if you choose a fair supplier. No, it's more about lead time and component variability. Do you have a question at this point?
Well, gosh, it kind of brings me to what we were talking about in the beginning, is looking at things as a system, and then you when you understand the system, you can see kind of where to focus, because that's important to the goal is knowing where the constraints are, where the bottlenecks, and then that ties also in with the safety stock, right? So when you're looking for safety stock opportunities of how that can help, you would normally also look for where the constraints are, right?
Mhm. Yes, you're totally right. No,
Because that
that's
impacts throughput, right? That impacts throughput and dollars
yes.
ROI.
You know, the criteria of theory constraint is critical when you are in a setting of the game when the constraint is not in demand, it's in operations. But in this game, so far, the constraint is in demand. What I mean is that you have plenty of capacity to match whichever demand the game gives you. But there are settings that the criteria of theory of constraint is even more critical. Okay, you need to
Yeah,
account this.
because you were talking about demand, there's ways you can influence demand, right?
Yes, exactly. But the other thing is that okay, you're right because you make bad decisions. You can define, for example, a capacity of a boarding line that is lower than the one you need to fulfill demand. So even though you had the opportunity to have enough capacity, you decided to have a constraint, and that's a big issue. If you plan your supply and you define and you create a bottleneck in your supply in this game, you are done. Your ROI levels are going to be very low, if not negative. It's very hard to actually attain good levels of ROI with a constraint inside the game. So that's why it is. I think that the most important thing for not to waste an entire round is to check the capacity of operations. If you choose a lower capacity, your game is done. It doesn't matter how well you did in supply chain, on sales, in purchasing. It doesn't matter. If you made bad decisions in operations, your round is finished. Okay, so let's now.
You can't support demand, huh? And then the customer gets unsatisfied and goes elsewhere to the
That's true.
competitors,
So
right? So you lose
and what
market share.
happens? And what happened is this that we already saw negative a lot of penalties. Well, in this case, the penalties actually were not generated by production, were generated mainly by a bad decision on sales because they promised it very much, and also problems on components supply. In this case, if you can remember, both Mango, but first BRMC, no? So let's now review this part, the lot size. So before I say to you that the products here in the game are modeled like a fixed period replenishment demand, okay? But the model that is closest to the one you use for components, it is a continuous review. When you have a safety stock and a lot size to ask for replenishment, no? So this is the lot size. What it means, if you set it in 3 weeks, it means that you're going to make orders no lower than 3 weeks. Because sometimes you will order higher than 3 weeks because you need actually to recover your position on safety stocks as well. So, but at a minimum of 3 weeks. I don't know if you get the idea.
Was that what? I'm sorry.
So I was explaining to you that about the lead lot size, it is like the minimum quantity you order, no? But it is not a fixed quantity because it depends actually on your inventory position. So if you need to recover your safety stock position, you need to ask for more. But this is important. I will say this is more crucial for efficiency. If you choose a very high lot size position, okay, it means that you will require so you will have higher inventories, no? A higher average inventories, which will increase your probability of having obsoletes. But this is a good thing about this game, that the component all of those have 52 weeks of shelf life, which is a lot. So actually, in, you have to do something very, very bad to have obsoletes in components. It is almost impossible to have obsoletes in components.
So you know you're doing something wrong. You really messed up if you got obsoletes.
Yes, I have some games when you don't get correctly. For example, I recall a game of a friend of mine that defined a lot size of a year. So okay, in that and a size stock very similar, very high, maybe in the tens of weeks. So in that case, he had obsoletes in the game, but it's very unlikely. It will be terrible, no?
Yeah, that
So
cost, all that cost put to waste, right? It's like
yes,
spoilage.
no, it
Spoilage
is
of
madness. It is
spoilage of
madness.
goods, and that's cost.
Yes. So you have to consider that the lowest, a lot higher it is, okay, it is better for inventory cost, but it is bad for ordering cost and for the warehouse. Because when you receive so you know the effort that a warehouse perceives is not only related with the volume that it receives, but also with the quantity of orders it receives. No? For example, if you receive a big order just once a week, it is not the same as receiving the same quantity of order, but divided once a day. That's even more critical.
Fulfillment, or yeah.
So that's the other thing. So you need, in this case, to balance the cost of ordering that affect, actually, you have a cost for order here in the game, in the supply. Let me show you in the purchasing role, no? But also the impact in the warehouse, no? Because if you have like a lot of orders incoming every day, you will need to have more people in the warehouse, and each person costs you 20Ks. So there is a thing to check. As you can see, each shipment costs $150. So you need to account that. But you know, this is not a crucial cost. Normally, it is not that important. No? The more important thing about this is the holding cost of average inventory at the impact, no, over the warehouse. No? Okay, I think that at this point, we have covered all supply chain. As before, for components, you can model it. If you incorporate this into a model, as the one I shared with you in the spreadsheet, actually you can find very close to optimal position. And you know what's the strange thing? Okay, maybe this is a flaw in my case, but before playing by using these models, I thought that my criteria was enough. Okay, it was enough to have good ROIs, but no impressive ROI. When I started use modeling, I found policy positions that in my mind didn't make any sense at that moment. But then I realized what those make sense, but not because I realized by myself, because the model told me. So that's why it is important to model this in order to find combinations of the decisions that actually optimize the game. Okay.
Interesting.
So right now we finished with supply chain. If you have any doubt with supply chain, this is the moment.
Well, I think modeling. So would there be any particular way you describe those models, like algorithms or different things, statistical or ways of how you apply?
You know, actually, it depends on your background. No. Actually, you can try to model it with normal statistics, but this is kind of blind in the sense that if you don't know how actually this phenomena behaves, you're going blind, just using regressions, these common things, these things that are very mainstream. You find solutions, but are not optimal. So I would say that first, it is better to understand the phenomena. So go to the theory, read some books, okay, understand the mathematical models, and then use those models to incorporate it into statistics. and try to improve those models. And when you combine theory and statistics, you obtain like very good models, no? And also, okay, I'm using Excel because I'm very proficient in Excel. But I have no people that use actually Python or other programs or to simulate this chain, no? And it's fair, no? But the good thing is that the problem is that it is always better to have a strong background of basic theory before jumping into the modeling part. So in this case, what I would recommend? First, go to the inventory models. Understand what is a continuous replenishment system means, a periodic replenishment system means, what the concept we just about frozen period, snow or slow racing, but that's the thing. And then just go to the models, doing on Excel or whichever tool fits you better, no? And then try to accomplish a better ROI.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. So really need to know each of those different roles and how they integrate with each other, and how the models can help with the various variables. You know, sometimes, you know, you have to kind of test things, your hypothesis, and from that you can see you know, the potential you know, opportunities to really have significant impact.
Yes,
And
totally.
cause and effect relationships.
Yes, that's why it's very important if you are, you know, we have different backgrounds. In my case, I think it was easier because I came from operations. So these dynamics for me were very fresh in the sense that it was my day to day. But I can imagine if my background were fully from academia, I will be very strong in the theoretical part, but not about this relationship. So that's why it's important you have the chance to play by teams, in teams, to have a mix, no? To have maybe, and this happens as well in a company, no? You have a person that manages well the dynamic of markets, another one that knows better about operations, manufacturing, warehousing, another one that is an expert on purchasing, and you have this guru of statistics and mathematics that will help you to model everything. So this is a good thing to consider if you want to build a strong group, both in the game and in real life. No, you have to account several roles and experience. No.
Yeah, well, I have background from, you know, a supply chain, aerospace,
Great.
all that. Yeah.
So that's why you're doing very great. So let's now move into the operation part.
Okay.
Okay, as I told before, okay, you start with strategy, you reflect that strategy into sales, you define the policies in supply chain that are going to support the sales strategy, but then you have to make possible those policies. And in order to make possible those policies, you need to choose wisely in operations. Because if you don't, you do a terrible job in operations, it's going to be just, the supply chain policy is going to be just like a purpose of willingness, but not actually reality, no? So this is crucial. And in operation, it's all about setting capacities. So which one is a more critical? We're going to start with that, with boring. Because the capacity of boring, unless you do a terrible job in mixing, which it may happen, but it is very unlikely, no? If you actually decide working in boring line, and you create a constraint in your boring line, your game is done. So you have to actually, the decisions are very simple here, are not that much. But you need to first decide which machine to use. And for this, the only way to do it is to run a CRP model, a capacity, in fact, I can't recall the name of R. can you recall what the R means in NRP?
Resource.
Resource, no? Yeah, you're right. Material resource planning. Okay.
Manufacturing resource planning. Yeah.
Yes, you're right. Because this is capacity resource planning. So in this case, you have to create a model. Yes. Okay. So in this case, you need to create a model in order to. So how do you create this model? You have to start with sales, and this is crucial. Huh? So you just start with sales. Those sales are supported with obsolete as well, because in your outbound warehouse, you don't only receive the products that are going to be sold, you also receive the products that are going to be scrapped because those are obsoletes. No, so you have this sum. Okay, then the bottom line is not going to produce only the obsoletes and the sales. Actually the bottom line needs to produce as well the rejections that are not fitted to the warehouse, but also all the products that are bad produced during the changeover. So you need to go from sales and go to the preceding steps in the internal supply chain of the company, and this number starts to grow, because when you calculate how much you need to produce in the boarding lines, you need to account first the sales, second the obsoletes, third the rejections, and finally the scrap of changeover. So you need to do the math in order to calculate this number. So the difference could be like an extra 20% easily. So if you can run a model and estimate the volumes of production, it is very easy to select a machine, because if you divide the production that you need over the speed of the machine, it will give you the hours you need each week in average. And then if you model, let me open this report. So the thing I just told you helps you to account for this, for the round time. But if you want to calculate the changeover time, it is easy as well, because you have the information about the length of the changeover here. They tells you that a science changeover lasts 3 hours, a science changeover 4, and a changeover that has both a formula changeover and a site changeover, it is the sum, 3 plus 4, 7. So you have the numbers to account this. And since you have in supply chain already defined the frequency of production in this tag, you right now know what's the frequency of the changeover. So you can actually calculate or estimate how many changeover are going to be done per product during a round. So it is very easy. You can calculate this volume by accounting those variables. And finally, the breakdown, it is a statistical thing. So normally, for me, what it makes sense is that the breakdown, it is proportional at some point, no, to the runtime. So the more time you run the machine, the more time you expect in breakdowns, no. So you can model maybe with
maintenance. So maintenance, right?
Plus maintenance, you're right, because if you choose to use preventive maintenance, you will have like a fixed invested time, no? But the important thing is that fixed invested time will reduce you the other part, the statistical part. So you have to account, it is actually good to do a lot, or not preventive maintenance at all. For example, okay, I know that this is, my background comes from maintenance. So I know this is not true. So a machine with no preventive maintenance, it is doomed to fail, okay? But in this game, sometimes the best strategy is to not to do maintenance. Because if you have a very reliable machine, actually, to do maintenance, it wastes time. Because the machine is very reliable. So it doesn't make sense. Okay, this in real life, it makes sense, but zero preventive maintenance is impossible. No, you have to do some activities.
Yeah. So I guess you have to keep monitoring, right, to see
Yes,
if it needs it. Because if you don't monitor, then you're putting you know you're risking you know you're you're rolling the dice, so to speak. You know.
that's totally true. So at this point, if you're comfortable for all the variables I just told you, you can calculate these numbers and check the capacity. So if I assume these three, it accounts for almost 90, around 90. So if we choose in the previous round 120 hours, which correspond to 3 shifts, this means that we have 9 over 12 utilization, which is 75%, which is great because you have 25% for covering the variations of the peaks of demand. So this is actually, it is not great. You're leaving some money in the table, no? And the good thing with modeling is that you can calculate actually which one is the best position to choose, which percentage of utilization. But again, it is modeling. But as a rule of thumb, you want to have like very high production plant adherence. You will need to have at least a 10% of gap. This means at least a 10% of free capacity. Okay, this logic of the free capacity depends on another thing, in the promotions of sales. So I know this is crazy because everything is interconnected. But if you decide not to do promotions, for example, for every customer, your demand variation for the products is going to be very low. So the peaks during production that normally are produced because of promotions are going to be very low. So you can sustain maybe a chain with only a 5 or less than 10% gap of free capacity. So the decision of sales actually impact on the free capacity you need in your bottom line.
Yeah, I can see how, you know, that promotional pressure can help incentivize, you know, the customer, you know, the demand for it. And so if that happens,
Exactly.
then you're going to have to produce more, you know, to
Yes,
meet those customers, or it's a missed opportunity, or your competitors will get that market share.
exactly. You know, in real life, this is what you just said is crucial in real life, because in real life you need market share is very important, because just maybe saying, okay, I'm not going to do product promotions because it generates a lot of variation in my supply, is not an option, because if you are not there in the shelf, in the that so people can see you, you are not in the market, and in the long term you will lose market share. But
Yeah.
in the game, it doesn't matter. That's a good thing in the game. The good thing in the game is actually that the customers reward you not because of volume. They reward you because of contract index. So if you attain a better contract index, even you're not fulfilling their needs of promotions, it is great.
Oh, I thought the contract index was involved all those things, you know, as
Yes.
influence.
Just let
Okay.
me show you here in sales, for example,
Yeah.
in all round. Look, right now it is selected with none. Okay? And look the contract index. This means that I'm not giving him promotions to this customer. So what it means that I have less sales, lower sales with him. But look what happens with the contract index when I decide to move from none to heavy. It reduces, it gets reduced. So the customer is telling me, okay, if you want to do a promotional campaign with me, I will do it, but give me better prices. So you have to actually realize which is better to obtain that extra demand. Okay, that will generate more income of money, but we generate as
Yeah, the
well.
volume. You have the volume to justify that.
Exactly. Maybe the volume does not justify the reduction on price and also the increase of the pressure in the supply chain. So you
And
have to
also that movement, you know, in the earlier rounds to, you know,
yes,
okay,
exactly.
we'll get it back later.
Yes, exactly. But you have to account this, no? Okay, let's go back to operations, no? So once you have defined your CRP model and you're able to estimate correctly the runtime, the breakdown time, the changeover time, you can actually estimate very precisely, very accurate the number of shifts and which actions to account for this machine. So this is done. And you can run several scenarios with different machines and trying to find the best machine. For example, I haven't updated yet my move, but I found that in my case, for my game, it is better to use the mainstream machine, the one that we had during the round zero. But then I run other models with another kind of demands, and under those models, the better was top speed. That's why I haven't changed it yet, but I have to change it now. But it depends of your settings in sales. One machine can be better than another. So that tells you that each round you need to check if the machine you have right now is the best to fulfill your sales need, your demand needs. Okay. Oh, I was forgetting about something that is crucial at this point. Okay, yes, this one. This tool, I think I already explained to you about this tool last time, but now it's very, this is like a tool that the system provides you to estimate the runtime and somehow the changeover time, okay? But if you read its brief in the info center, you will find out that it's very limited. It doesn't consider obsoletes. It doesn't consider the loss of changeover for the calculation of the hours. It doesn't consider breakdown time. So it's very limited. So this is a thing to use just in case you're not very well familiar with CRP models. So this is better than nothing. So you use this one, depending on your obsolete levels, you increase a plus 10 or 20% of the estimation obtained here. Okay, this is much easier, but it's very inaccurate, no? But for example, if you change this, okay, I'm going to try a strategy like this. The demand is fixed, you cannot change it, which is wrong. You put calculate, and it will give you new numbers about the KPIs, which are wrong, but you can correct those. Okay, let's now move to the mixing to finish with the machines. Okay, the mixing normally is very, it is not a strategical decision. Okay, I know that, okay, maybe it is in the sense that normally buying a machine is very strategic, no, for a company. But here in this game, when you can discard in each round the machine you had in the previous without any cost, actually this is tactical. So for this game, a machine, the selection of a machine is tactical. It doesn't affect that much because you have a lot of freedom to choose every round. So it doesn't matter that much. But the thing with this machine, the other thing is that this machine does not affect, it is normally not a constraint. You have to be in a game setting with very high demands, maybe with 5 customers and 9 products or 12 products in order to this machine be a constraint. But under the current incentive we're playing with only 6 products at 3 customers, it is impossible, even with the lowest one, with the one with the lowest capacity, to surpass its maximum capacity. So at that point, you know that it is impossible it is very likely to make a terrible decision that will damage the whole performance of the game about the mix. So this is a good thing. But the other thing is that the mixer is all about 2 things. Allow you to fulfill a production interval policy and cost effectiveness. The first thing, I think I just told you before, if you have a machine that is very large about its batch size, for example, 12,000 liters, and you have chosen to use a production interval for a product of 3 days, maybe those 3 days accounts for only 4,000 liters. So it would be impossible to mix those 4,000 liters in a big mixer. So what is going to happen in reality? That your policy is not going to be followed, and the obtained production interval is going to be related with the minimum capacity of your mixer. So the mixer can be a limitation for defining better production intervals, no? And this is normally more for the low volume products. So you have to talk to count that, just that. And the other thing is cost effectiveness in the sense that you can always select a mixer, as well as we did with the boarding line, that increase ROI because it costs less, it has less investment on the combination between its fixed cost and its variable costs are lower. So that is just mathematics and run a business case model. It doesn't involve a statistic modeling at all. It's quite simple. Okay, let's now move into the warehouse part. Which one you want to start first? Or maybe we can start with outbound. Okay. You have here a criteria, no? I think the same criteria you have it as well in the boarding line, no? Sometimes you have peaks in demands. And when you have peaks in demands, let me just back again in the boarding line because this is important. If you have peaks in demand in the boarding line, this means that maybe during a week, a particular week in the 26 weeks of the round, you will not have the capacity to fulfill the demand. So during those cases, you use overtimes, which is registered here, no? So that's why it happens something that normally it may seem impossible. You have 25 of unused capacity, but at the same time, you have overtimes. But remember, this is on average, because this unused capacity, you cannot store this. If in a given week, you didn't use the capacity, you cannot store that time for use it later. You just lost that capacity. But in a given week, when you had like a high peak on demand, and you need more capacity, you cannot use the capacity you didn't use last week. You just have to do like or use extra labor, no, overtime. So this is important because this is like an overflow of your capacity, and in some settings it's even more critical because if you surpass the overtime capacity, you have to outsource, which is costlier. So, you know, but what's the thing? Once you have high levels of overtimes, no? For example, at this point is very low, like 0.5%, but you have, for example, 10%, okay, your production plan here is going to be very low. It is impossible to obtain a very good production plan adherence with high levels of overtime. So what this tells you? You need to have enough buffer capacity to match demand. Okay, now that I explained that important point, let me get back to the outbound warehouse. This is the same idea. You select a fixed capacity in your warehouse, a quantity of pallet positions. And there are several approaches, no? Normally intuition about selecting this capacity tells you, okay, what's the peak of demand of the inventory of the inventory? What's the highest number that occurs during a round? Okay, maybe 1,000 pallets. Okay, let's set our capacity to match that highest position. That's a safe move. You will not have any overflows, but the thing is that it's very inefficient. So actually, in order to have an optimal position in cost, you have to allow sometimes to have overflows. So this is the trick. You need to model and be able to estimate the overflow of a warehouse, cost that overflow, and run an optimization model to find the better position for the warehouse. So let me show you with numbers. For example, in the last round for the raw materials warehouse, we use in average, this is our average requirement, if you want to see it like that, of 751. And we choose 900 in capacity. Okay, maybe a first reaction will say, okay, we have plenty, yes, and we have like 80% of utilization. This means this 80% is this over this, okay? But even we have free capacity, we have to contract an external warehouse sometimes. So we have overflow. So this happened. Why? In the same fashion as I explained with the bottom line. During the peaks in the inventory levels, you surpass your capacity, those 900. And during those short periods of time, you have to contract an external warehouse. No? So you in order to model a better position, no? You have to be able to estimate this overflow by in concordance or depending of the utilization on the cube utilization level. No? Okay, here is a rule of thumb. No? Okay, I will tell you, try to run the numbers when you, maybe during the second or the third round when you have the time. But if you don't have the time right now, since this is not critical, this is not sales, this is not supply chain policies, this is not the bottom line, this is a safe number, between 85. If your cube utilization is about 85, you are in a good position. Maybe not the optimal, but very close to optimal. How do I know this? Because I have played several times this game, and every time I run a model, it's about that number. So, and that number is very similar in the finished good as well in the warehouse and the finished good warehouse. So you can use that number as a rule of thumb, like a very good approximation of cost effectiveness. No? So the same happened with the tangent, but the problem in this round is that you don't have the option to select more capacity of the tangent. So you have to account this situation, okay? Because this is very tricky. The game is set in this way. If you surpass the capacity of your tank yard, what the operation does is to move the content inside those tanks into IBCs. That each IBC accounts as a one pallet. So once you move the content of orange to the IBCs from the tank, you store those pulp oranges, for example, or mango, whatever you choose to buy in tanks, in the raw material, in the pallet warehouse. So this 751 does not only account for the products that are purchased on pallets, but also for the overflow of tangent. I don't know if you got correctly that idea. Okay, so that's the thing with this report. Right now we can move to the inbound inventory. Do you have any questions so far?
No, it's pretty good. Yeah,
great.
Yeah, you're good.
Great. So in this case, you have a similar decision on the outbound inventory. You have pilot locations, which at this point are fixed, so you cannot choose about nothing about this. And you have the quantity of employees as well as you did in the outbound inventory. But I didn't tell you about this. Let me go back again. In the warehouse, you have both capacity of space, volume space, and you have capacity of people. No, for example, you here in the raw material warehouse, your average usage of manpower was 74 hours, and your flexible manpower was 1.3 FTEs. An FTE accounts for one person. So what it means that in average, you wouldn't need 1.3 persons to fulfill all the demand, or all the demand of manpower. So since you cannot hire a 1.3 person, you have to choose either one or two. So which one is better? You need to count the cost, because one person costs 20 Ks, okay, when you hire it. But when you use manpower, one person doesn't cost 20 Ks. Actually, it costs much more. I can't recall the exact name. I think that it is about like 50% more or something like that. But let's say it's 30 Ks. So you have to count those numbers. So maybe here it is enough to hire one person. But for example, in this case, or let's imagine this number was 1.5. If it was 1.5, actually it's better to hire two, because this half accounts for maybe another one, because it is much costlier. So you need to run the numbers, and the game gives you enough information to make those calculations. You can go here and check those rates. No, so that's how do you decide how many people to have in your warehouse? No, by accounting the estimation of the manpower needs per round, and actually giving a little bit more in order to reduce the overflow of manpower, no? And also you decide in this warehouse the capacity in the same fashion. So as a summary for warehouse, no, at this point is you have to choose a capacity that is in between the average and your maximum. It is a bad idea to select the average, because you will fulfill your demand only 50% of the times. And it is another mistake to select the maximum, because you will be leaving money in the table. So there is a in-between position that is optimal that you need to find by running a business case model and optimization model. That's it. And finally, for operations, you have the decision of intake time. Intake time actually is very important. And I think I made a mistake before when I was explaining to you about the safety stocks. The safety stock depends in two things, in two critical things: lead times and intake time. What's the intake time? The intake time, it is a time that the warehouse promised you at most will take them to make the receiving process and making available the product that just arrived. For example, if today for me it is, let's imagine it is Monday, no? So if I promise, no, a 5 days intake time, no, this means that if a product arrives today, I have until Saturday to making available for the use of manufacturing. So as far as lead time is concerned, you have to account those times. Actually, the lead time that takes you to make a product available is the lead time of your supplier plus the intake time. So if you want to be more responsive and actually increase the availability of the product or the components, you need to reduce this intake time. Maybe promise not 5 or 4, or maybe 3 or 2. But what's the problem? If you reduce this window, your warehouse is going to feel more pressure of the system, which means that you will require more people in order to fulfill that policy. And if you don't have the people, do not worry. They will hire the flexible manpower, which is very costly. So you need to account this. You want to have like a more like a high speed inbound process. You need to reduce the intake time maybe to 2 to 1, but you need to account that will generate high peaks in manpower needs in your raw material warehouse. So you will need to have more people. So is that clear?
Yeah. I think so. You need to have the resources to make that's a process and a flow too, right?
Exactly. So let's now move into the last role, purchasing. Okay. Purchasing normally it has two main impacts. Normally two, but in this setting of the game, actually three. No? The first one is cost effectiveness. You want to try to purchase at the lowest total cost. Because why I'm telling you total cost? Now I'll give you a hint. No, let's go to supplier. Or let me ask you a question. Let's imagine you are in a case of pet. You purchase already inflated pet bottles. So when you are moving those pet bottles, what actually you're moving? You're moving air. And moving air is very expensive. So if you account this reality, this intuition in the numbers, you will see this. For example, if you check the purchase values for most products, the transport costs are not that high. You can see that, okay, it's 5,000, no? But in this case, the transport cost for the pet is almost half of the total cost. This purchase value is the sum of the price plus the transport. So what it means, that for pet, for example, it is as important as the price you pay, the transport method you use. And not only the method, the distance, because the far is your supplier from you, the highest are going to be the cost for transporting those goods. So this is important in for cost effectiveness. You need to try to obtain the lower total cost of ownership, that's the concept, but with the other constraint that you need to fulfill your strategy. So the other thing that helps you support suppliers is a strategy. If you're playing a responsible supplier strategy, you will need to have close to your manufacturing site suppliers, no? In order to have low safety stocks and high and very fast replenishment system. So that's another thing, the lead time. And the final thing, besides cost effectiveness and strategy, which mostly comprehends lead time, no, as well other factors by the exclusion, is risk. As you can remember, last time we talked about this window, no? I'm not going to back again to this window, but not right now. When you select a supplier, you are introducing a risk nature, so you need to account for that. So this is actually with suppliers. Let's now try to negotiate with with Pat, for example. You know, this is important. This is also an opportunity. You have the remaining contract duration round. So if you promise, for example, 4 weeks, 4 rounds, this means that you are bonded with this supplier for another 4 rounds, which for us is for all the game, no? So what's the good thing? The good thing is that this guy will give you a better price, which makes sense because the longest is a contract, the lower are the prices. But also your relationship with this supplier is going to improve because this is like a marriage, no? So this is actually good for this setting of the game, because if you have a good relationship with a supplier, if a risk comes to reality, for example, you select a supplier from Brazil and a flood occurs, if you have a good relationship with the supplier, that supplier will prioritize you during its recovery. So the time to recover for you is going to be lowest. But if your relationship is very bad, they will leave you for the end of the recovery process. So this is you need to account. You have to account this for this game. This can be a big difference between one that a good performance if a given risk occurs. Okay. The other thing is the trade unit. This is a cost thing, no? But okay, there are like very obvious tips. For example, a tank contains 30,000 liters, which is great for high volume products, okay? But you have vitamin C that you consume maybe few thousands of liters per round. So, for example, purchasing vitamin C in tank, it doesn't make any sense because with just one tank, probably you will have enough vitamin C for all the rounds, and probably you will have obsoletes because the volume is so low that it doesn't make sense to purchase in so big presentation. No? So you have to account this. Then you have the delivery reliability, which plays with the delivery window and the lead time. For example, if you define a 94%, it means that your supplier, 94% of the time, have to deliver their goods in between the lead time plus one day. So if the lead time is 10 days, it means that the product can reach between the 9th and the 11th day. So you have to account this because if you promise, if you give, for example, you have this guy Riesling, let me check, it is pretty close. 7 days. So you have to think about it. It makes sense to ask for a 4-hour window. It is crucial for your supply. You have to think about it. Because if you choose a 4 hours, it will charge you more. Maybe not that much, yes, a little bit more, but it makes sense. It is good for your supply. You have to make the numbers. Probably it won't. But also going to 1 week, okay. For sure, this guy will charge me less. But there is a problem, no? Right now, I have increased my lead time. It's not only 7 days. It can be 7 days plus 1 week, plus the intake time. So you have to count this. So it makes sense sometimes, but you have to use okay, this delivery window has to make sense in concordance with the length of the lead time. And you need to incorporate that number into your lead time calculation. So what percentage to choose? Okay, this is another opportunity for a model I haven't done yet, for example, because this is a combination. You have to, the critical thing, the main goal for components is not to have a high delivery reliability of suppliers or have a good inventory position, a low inventory position. No, the main thing is, okay, those are important, but the crucial thing is the component availability. So you have obtained component availability by 2 things, by increasing the reliability of the supplier or increasing the inventory, the safety stock. So here, the thing is, okay, which is better for ROI? Sometimes it may be better to promise a 90% to contract a 90% with a supplier and maybe cover with more inventory than maybe choosing a 90% of delivery reliability. No? So that's an opportunity for a model I have not done, for example. No? Okay. And finally, okay, we have this, the supplier market. Here you can see all the options you have to fulfill your needs. No? So first thing to check the risk map. No? For example, in my last round, I had a supplier from Congo, no, here, and you can see this is a free risk zone. There is no risk associated with this, but in this, with this supplier, you have these things that are the floods. I don't know if you recall, but the fruit disease, and the fruit disease is the worst thing may happen. The recovery time varies from 12 to 18 weeks. So you need to count this, the first thing to select a supplier. What is it? And also, this is funny. Actually, this is what I love about this game. These pirates happen. This pirate risk occurs in the ocean. So you put, for example, when I selected this supplier, I was thinking, okay, okay, where it goes the ship. Okay, the closest is this way, but you know, maybe sometimes it doesn't happen because maybe this ship make like another stops in another ports of South Africa, for example. So maybe the route is here, then Madagascar, then India, and then goes to to this channel. I can recall the name. So the good thing a good thing to do is to check in the internet, no? For example, no, I don't know.
Oh, check the
Go
route, huh?
get from Congo to Netherlands. Netherlands. I know it's well written. Okay. Oh, ship route. Okay. You go here from Rotterdam to Point North, I think. Okay. Sorry, my internet is very, very slow, but in a moment you will see a globe map. And if it's not, you can try it then, but you will see. Sorry, it's so low, but you will see that the route is go this way. So you have two options here. You may ask using the email they provide to us, and okay, please, Hans, tell me where this ship goes. It takes this coast or the other coast. And if you don't have an answer, but probably he will give you an answer. But if you are like in a hurry, you can do this. And since this game is very close to reality, let me tell you, someone when design this game, it take the work to check that this route is actually what happens in reality. So I can be sure that this not goes to this part of the ocean. So
it makes sense to use extra resources besides what you see right in front of you, the game.
yes, that's true. So what else you can contract? I think this is the final thing for today. The other thing is the quality is crucial. The highest quality you purchase, the most costly is the product. But there is a good thing about having high quality. If you have high quality, it means that during the volume process, you want to have less rejections. But you know, perfection is enemy of the good. So sometimes maybe having a high quality product doesn't pay because already with middle quality, you have a fair amount of rejections. So you have to check that. And that's for pulps, for vitamin C, orange, and mango. But for packing, for pack 1 liter and PET, the impact is not in the rejection. The impact is in the breakdown. So if you have like a low quality PET, for example, the breakdown in your bottom line is going to increase. But you have an option in the operations settings to reduce that effect. For example, you can choose a middle quality PET supplier, but in order to reduce the impact in the breakdown, you select the option to make inspections in the inbound warehouse. So those inspections block the entrance of bad raw materials and reduce. It depends on the material, no? Either the breakdown or the quantity of rejections. So you need to use that tool as well. But the thing is that that inspection consumes manpower. So you need to calculate if that inspection will require another person, or if you can handle it with the quantity of person you have right now. And this is the final thing: supplier development. Supplier development, it helps you to improve the performance of your supplier. It's going to be more reliable. If the CO2 module will be on, it will reduce their emissions as well. then the rejection levels are reduced as well. But also good thing is that if a supplier development process actually works with the supplier, your relationship gets better. So that's a good thing about the thing of risks I just told you. So if your relationship improve, that means that when something happens, that supplier is going to prioritize you over others. So that is another way to improve the relationship with suppliers, bonding in common initiatives. No, so besides the cost benefits that occurs because this supplier development, you have the other thing that is critical for the risk management that we have in our sense. But what is the bad thing of this? That is very costly. It costs about 30K per round, which is a lot. So you need to check if it's worth a shot. Maybe for the high volume products, it does, but I'm not that sure with the low volume products. You need to check that, no? But since it's very costly, maybe with a high volume product, it pays. Okay, my friend, that's everything I have planned for today. I don't know if you have any doubts or comments to do at this point.
That's good. No, it's very good. I appreciate, you know, you going over all those areas and how they impact. I think that was very, you know, a good comprehensive, you know, it's just good of each. So, yeah. So in summary, what would you say in summary?
Sorry?
No, it's summarizing. What would you say in summarizing?
Oh, no, okay. No, I would say that, okay, just to make a summary, remember the order of decisions, no? First, you go to finance to assess your current situation. Check the big negative or the big points of losses of money. Solve the big issues. Once you are performing good and you're having a positive outcome, then go for the highest number. Normally it's production, purchasing, and go on, no? And check opportunities in that order. If you don't, once you have optimized once, go to the next. Okay, but that's the iterative process for improving the ROI. But once you define the big problems, you need to move on to define a strategy. But the strategy, for defining a strategy is crucial to actually address or know your environment. So you need to read every document in your inbox in order to get a grasp of the challenges for this game, no? And also know your customers, no? Because the customers are the only ones you cannot discard at all. So know them, check their brief, what do they prefer, and you have the option, check their preferences, no? As I showed you before, when I changed the service level in 2 points, how much is the response to the contract index? Because that will tell you how much a customer or what things the customer cares the most. So you can actually build like a specific strategy for each customer, no? Which is better, no? Because you have like an omni channel. You have different strategies at the same time. So you have a strategy with Brown, another with Domus, another with Teco, and a big one, no? So once you have done this, start deciding, okay, what decision do I have to do in sales in order to support that strategy? Then you move to supply chain. What policies I have to choose in order to support the decisions on sales? Then you move back to operations. What decisions about capacities I have to make in order to make real the intentions that supply chains expressed on its policies, on their policies, no? And finally, in purchasing is, okay, that thing I just told you, how can I optimize costs with the suppliers? How can I support my strategy? And how can I reduce risks with my suppliers? once you have those covered all these questions, for sure you will have a fair game, a good result. And you have to actually go to the next level, start to building models, numerical models, in order to find the more optimal positions for the game. That's it.
Very, very good, Gustavo. Gustavo, it seems like you really have to be a design architect, right? Designing and architecting solutions here within the network.
Yes, that's true. And you know, this is an interesting thing because I have wrote some articles that talk about right now is like a trending thing among big companies of building like twin images of the company, but in virtual environments. So they're making, for example, I would say IBM is making an image of another IBM in like a Fresh Connection game. So you have an IBM that shows you all the decisions like in the Fresh Connection, and actually the IBM strategic team, or maybe the people that work for them, can start testing the strategies they have thought about and put it into these simulators of their companies and see what happens. So these twins, virtual twins, no, I can't recall the technical name, but it's a training round, no. So this actually Fresh Connection is like a previous idea that I think that helped to inspire the thing that now we're looking.
Yeah, because when you look at things as a network, you know, a decision network and nodes and how things come together, you can really translate that to, you know, certain things, the models, you know, test algorithms and then
Yes.
you know, relate that. So it's very transferable, huh?
Yes,
Transferable.
that's interesting, and also it scares because maybe in few decades there are going to be less managers because an artificial intelligence is going to be able to make most decisions, even the strategical ones, and just have few managers to feed the knowledge to that artificial intelligence. But it makes sense. Who knows?
When we talk about these things, of course, you start thinking about what's going on with automation and what, you know, AI and of course, Internet of Things. And so those are also part of the dynamic in the digital age, right? The digital age is a very important part of all this.
That's it, Richard. Okay, Richard, that's everything for today. Thank you much.
Gustavo.
Thank you very much for helping me in this process.
Oh, it's good.
I
Thank
love
you so much.
the video as long as I have it.
Good
So
discussion.
thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Gustavo.
Bye-bye.